Good morning. Welcome everyone to our ServiceNow Project and Resource Management demonstration webinar today. We really appreciate your attendance and look forward to providing you some valuable content and insights around ServiceNow's Project and Resource Management solution. In terms of our agenda today, we'll be providing you a brief overview of the ServiceNow PPM Project and Resource Management capabilities. And then we'll be jumping into the demonstration to go through a day in the life of a project manager and resource manager using the ServiceNow solution. So thanks again for your attendance, and feel free to jot down your questions so we can answer those at the end of the webinar today. In terms of just a brief introduction with ResultsPositive, if you haven't worked with us before, we are a consulting firm and a value-added reseller. And we work with multiple partners. We partner with ServiceNow, as you can see today, and we specialize in helping customers provide them with right-sized business technology solutions. And so this is helping customers select the right technology, build and implement that technology, and then manage and support that technology. And we do that across multiple different IT domains, from technology business management, which includes IT strategy, project portfolio management, app portfolio management. We also assist organizations with their application lifecycle, from application development and automated functional and performance testing solutions, as well as helping organizations with their IT service management needs and requirements. Some of our core service offerings are around advisory and roadmap services, as well as implementation, integration, custom application development, and ongoing managed services. We've been doing business for over 14 years with many customers. You can see some of those customers on the right here, and I've actually been doing business with over 350 customers. So we really appreciate your attendance today and look forward to highlighting some of the value that you'll be able to achieve by using the ServiceNow solution. In terms of a brief introduction with the ServiceNow IT business management portfolio of solutions, you can see here it's pretty comprehensive in terms of the IT business management suite on ServiceNow. You have traditional IT financial management capabilities. You have your enterprise architect tools around application portfolio management and rationalization, to the core project portfolio management capabilities, which we'll be highlighting today, as well as then your various agile development and test management solutions. So our focus today is going to be around project portfolio management, how to protect those investments that you've funded, and being able to drive the attainment of those investments through effective project and resource management. So just a couple of quick highlights I wanted to describe as some of the differentiators and value points associated with ServiceNow's project management solution. We see that the solution is very unique in the marketplace. That's able to help accelerate time to value, and being able to do that through complete agile, Scrum, Kanban development, as well as hybrid project management, as well as traditional waterfall. So all on a single platform that you can support all different project methodologies. And then you also have some out-of-the-box integrations with some other third-party agile tools. We also see that organizations are able to effectively manage their project investments. So complete end-to-end project financials, both from a CapEx, OpEx perspective, as well as looking at labor, non-labor, as well as your expected business benefits and returns on your investments. You're able to also optimize your resource utilization and be able to quickly and effectively manage resource supply and demand on your projects. A couple of things that we really like about the solution as well is to be able to simplify and have consistent project status reporting. So you actually have that capability out of the box, and that streamlines the effort required to create status reports, but also provides a consistent status report look and feel across the enterprise, and then provides you with historical trending and an archive of all of your weekly status reports. And then kind of last but not least is on the platform, you have the ability to have performance analytics. So you can do the traditional BI tool capabilities that we see customers do in managing their projects and their project analytics, but you can do that all on the platform without the need for a separate solution. So that provides additional value for customers as well. So this is kind of a brief overview of some of the major capabilities and reasons that customers select ServiceNow for project management. One thing we will also like to highlight is ResultsPositive's project collaboration portal. And so we've developed this portal based on customers looking for ways to share information about their projects with all external stakeholders, as well as then providing the ability to have collaboration with those stakeholders. So with this portal here is something that can be installed in minutes, and it provides visibility to all your external project stakeholders, whether they be contractors or whether you need to share this information with executives. And then they will be presented with high-level metrics. They'd be able to see your schedule and be able to chat and collaborate, while also then having visibility into your archive of status reports and project documentation. So very effective solution, something that we can offer to you if you're looking to reduce the number of tools that you're using for a collaboration, i.e. SharePoint. You could do that all here within the ServiceNow platform. Next, I wanted to highlight some of the capabilities around resource management and some of the reasons that customers select resource management capabilities. First, at the highest level, supports the ability to do your what-if scenario planning at the portfolio level, so you can understand your resource demands and your resource capacity. Next, you're able to effectively manage that supply and demand through inline editing at various levels, so the group role and named resource level. You're able to really manage your resource utilization and be able to do that through looking at forecasts, making your allocations, and continually tracking the overall capacity and availability of your resources. And then, as you can kind of assume here, it supports both enterprise level as well as project level resource management. So we'll highlight those here in the demo today. So I'm going to turn it over to Russ, and Russ will walk us through the day in the life of managing projects and managing resources in the ServiceNow solution. Russ, thanks so much for joining today, and everyone, we look forward to your feedback and questions here on the demo.
I'm just getting ready to share my screen here. My name is Russ King, and I'll be giving the demo. All right, good morning. So I'm going to start out, as John mentioned, as a day in the life of a project manager. And so I'm logged in and impersonating a user named Paul Martin. So I'm just going to walk through what it might be like from a project management perspective. And so I picked a particular project, upgrade all Oracle 10G databases to 12G. And as a project manager, you come into what's called the project overview page here, and you can see initially a set of analytics where you can see the status of the project, percent complete, any risks and issues and changes. You also get visibility into your resource plans and things that you need to extend resources to meet the demand of the project. You can get some visualization of the project members and their allocations, as well as get those details into a portlet like this. You also have the traditional tasks and milestone type of view where you have overdue tasks and milestones and upcoming tasks with no assignee as an example, if you're doing the detailed task management. And then it also focuses on visibility into the time cards that are pending approval and a time card exception report. And then you get some project cost and benefits trending analysis charts. And so all of these are configurable. This is what comes out of the box in the London release of ServiceNow to give you those analytics, visualization of what's going on with a project. And as a project manager, you can then stay in here and switch to your other projects and see the same information and just go back and forth. So it's very easy as a project manager to sort of live in this space and then move through your projects and go through things like project status reporting and other things. So so that's the analytics tab, and the details tab is where we're going to find out that information about a project, where we have the start and the end dates and all of the classification of what portfolio it's in and things like that, business case, the financials, the scoring that you would typically see come from a demand intake process will be here. And this too is very configurable, easily configurable to meet your needs and capture the information that you need to capture to help with reporting and other things. So as part of implementation, we'll go through a deep dive and configure the fields that you need to capture and configure the values that you have within your organization. This is an example of how you could capture a business case and then visualize that within ServiceNow. And as John mentioned, there's a fully built out financial part of this for finances on the project, including things like, you know, labor and non-labor, CapEx, OpEx delineation, the ability to have a budget, and the ability to do baselining of the financials so that you can focus on the financials of the project. And a little bit later, I'll actually show an investment portal that allows you to visualize that the financials of those projects across multiple or across the portfolio or across multiple projects, like a top 10 list or something like that. From a scoring criteria, this is a very simplified scoring where we're just doing risk and value and size out of the box. But we typically see, as we do demand intake processes, we build these out to get additional scoring criteria that's very specific to the organization. And then across the top here, you'll see you have the life cycle of the project. So initiating, planning, executing, delivering, and closing. This is also configurable, but out of the box, these are sort of the phases of the project. And then within the planning tab, you have basically the ability to have the work plan. And within this planning tab, you can do things like add incremental tasks, and it just puts a new task in. So you can actively plan your work plan within here. You also have the ability to edit existing tasks and change dates. And then, of course, you have a Gantt visibility, a Gantt chart of the tasks in the project. You also have the ability within here to do specific assignments to resources. So within any task, you can actually double click. I need to save that task that I just added. Double click and then add a particular user as a specific assignment within here. So as an example, if I want to assign that task to Troy, I can do that there. There's also the ability within here to show a critical path. And that's taking a second on this work plan, but you can show the critical path. You can add and insert tasks. And so this is fundamentally that work breakdown structure of the project. And you have the ability to also integrate this with Microsoft Project. So you can import work plans from Microsoft Project against the project in here. And then the other side of this is the planning council. And as John mentioned when he was walking through, one of the big things about ServiceNow that differentiates is the ability to support that waterfall or an agile project or sort of a hybrid method. And within the project workbench, you can actually see how you can support this hybrid method. And so you basically have phases of the project: initiating, executing, control. And what I've done is I added a phase here for agile sprint development. And what this allows us to do then is visualize all the stories that are happening within the agile sprint phase. So you can have, you know, a waterfall phase of a project, and then as you move into development, you can have an agile phase that's actually doing the development in the sprints. and then you can visualize the stories and see how those are executing through the agile piece of ServiceNow. So that hybrid capability to get visualization of, you know, if you do have some upfront waterfall work and then you do agile development, and in the back end you have a bit of waterfall work to get deployment or to get it to market, then you can represent that hybrid type project within here. The next tab we'll talk about is the resources tab, and this tab basically allows you to do that high level resource forecasting. So I'm in as a persona of a project manager, and I can see that I've requested a group of, so a team of engineering services for 500 hours. And with resource management in ServiceNow, you can forecast your resources at a group level. So example, engineering services, architects, analysts, DBAs. You can also do them at a user level. So in this case, I forecasted 872 hours for Byron on the project. And then you can also do it at a role level, in that more traditional role of, say, you know, a developer, a QA analyst, or a DBA, or those types of things. So you have lots of flexibility in creating these resource plans and then doing the allocation. But as a project manager, you're simply forecasting what you need on your project, and then I'll go into the resource management side in the same exact screen and show you how we'll do the allocations against those resource requests. And so that's the ability to basically request resources. You can see even within this screen what it would look like for a resource manager. So you have a request for engineering services for a certain number of hours, and then you can see the availability of all the team members within that engineering services. I just don't have the ability as a project manager to go ahead and do that confirmation or assignment of that resource. The next tab is related to the financials of the project, and this will give you a financial overview of the project as well as the ability to maintain and add new cost plans and et cetera. So what you can see here for this project is all of the things that have the RPLN. These are actually resource plans. So all those resources we saw on the previous page, it's calculating based on a set of rates the actual forecasted cost of those resources based on the plan. And then you have these other elements like where we see labor OPEX or the software OPEX, where we actually have input a line specifically to say we're going to go procure this software for $22,000 in May of FY18. So you have the full ability to you know, add incremental costs and define your cost types for basically creating a fully blown out version of a project financials. You also have the same ability on the benefit side. So this is on the cost side and forecasting the costs. On the benefit side, it works exactly the same, where you can forecast the benefits and when you expect to realize those benefits, and there's categories for benefits just like there is cost types for the expense side of it. You can also configure these screens to include incremental information. You can export them to Excel, and then you can visualize them in month, quarter, or yearly type visualizations. So some pretty good visualizations. And then across the top, you have your summary with you know, what's your total plan cost, how much of it's capital and operating, and your budgets, and then your actual net present value, ROI. These are all calculated automatically as part of the solution. And then the final tab I'll show is status reporting from a project manager perspective. So this gives you the ability to have consistent status reports across all of your projects across the enterprise. And the way this screen works is basically this shows all of the status reports by date. In this case, I only have one, and the date that it was created. And you have basically the overview information, and this all comes automatically from the project itself. And then this information is what the project manager would fill in on a weekly basis. So what's my executive summary? What did I do last week? What am I planning to do in the future? It pulls in information around your cost and resources. It pulls in your status, and this is also updated by the project manager, and I'll show you when I create a new one. And then of course you have a status history, and if we had more than one, we would see that here. You also see your milestones that are pending and completed, similar with risks, issues, and scope changes, risks, issues, actions, and changes. So that's the out-of-the-box status report. And then if I create a new one, it basically pulls all that header information in, and then as a project manager, I go in and define, what are my, what did I do last week, and what do I plan to do next week? So last week, and then next week, or key activities planned. And then you have the ability as the project manager to basically give a subjective view of the health of the project. So there's an overall health, and then there's a schedule health. So you might say something like, the schedule's yellow, several team members were out for most of the week or something, as an example that you would want to show on your status report, cost, resources, and scope health, and then go ahead and just save that. What we'll see now is we'll have a new one on 2/13, and then you'll start to see sort of the status trending, the status history, and other things. So that's the process of inputting a status report. A couple of other things I want to show here beyond this project overview page and the ability to manage projects here is some capabilities in ServiceNow that just allow you to do some task management and task planning. And so I'm going to do one where, so this is my date reviews. I'm actually going to show one that's a little different. I'm going to show, say, for example, we were doing a UAT and we were looking at some tests. You can actually create these visual task boards for anything that you want to create. So any entity in ServiceNow, you can create a visual task board. And in this case, I've created one against a set of tests that were a UAT testing cycle for a particular piece of software. And so what you can see is you have a set of tests here that are unexecuted, some in progress, some that have passed, and one that's actually blocked. And all you can actually, drag these into in progress, and then say that becomes blocked. You can enforce things like having it pop up and give a message that says, why is it blocked? The software has a defect or something. And so you can continue to leverage these task management portals guided task boards to basically get a Kanban sort of visualization of what's going on with any set of tasks, whether that be project tasks or tests or any of those other things. And then I'm going to actually next show the investment portal. And so this is new in the latest release of ServiceNow, the London release. And this is that ability, and I saw a question come across about being able to see across the portfolio, all the projects and things like that. And that's really what the investment portal is built for. It allows you to build an unlimited number of investment views. And so in this case, I have one that's against an IT transformation portfolio. This one's looking at all the projects that Paul Martin manages, and then this is looking at all that Paul and Chase manage. But you might be able to you can do things like, here are my, top 10 projects or my most strategic projects, and you can visualize those in the investment view, and then share those with your senior leadership team. So, and this screen looks similar to what we saw in the in the financial overview section of the project, where across the top you have a set of KPIs that are defined and calculated, and these are all configurable. You can decide which KPIs you want to show. You can also add new widgets and new KPIs to this screen. So it's completely configurable in that sense that you can add new ones. But fundamentally, this is looking at a given portfolio, and you have 30 investments, 17 demands, and 13 projects with 12.4 million in cost, and you can see the status of the projects at a summary level. And then down here in the detail, you can actually see all of the projects and what their strategies and portfolio. And once again, this section is configurable as to which fields you want to show. So if we wanted to bring in something like investment type and investment class, we can bring those into this view, and then we can rearrange the view. So investment type came in here. You can actually drag these, and if we wanted investment type over here, we can move it. And then we can actually even do some pivoting on this table. So right now it's not pivoted at all, but if I wanted to see where my investment was by investment class, you can see I have 6 things in change the business, these 6 projects, and these 7 projects plus the demands and run the business. And so you can also do things like what strategies is this portfolio supporting, and see the plan cost and benefit and actual cost of those by just doing the drag and drop within this. One thing that's also very valuable here is that you not only can bring in the list of out-of-the-box fields, but you can bring in any field that you've captured on the project record. So if you're capturing incremental classification fields about the projects in your portfolio, many organizations will try to tie it to strategies, and so that's one. But anything that you add to the project record, you can bring into the investment portal and then leverage that within this portal. It also has the ability to, for example, and I'm going to do the project here, pin these columns. So I want to pin this column to the left so that the project name's always on the left. And as I scroll across, then I have the visibility to see that project and the project status. And you can even do things like minimize the status, so it's just the overall status, or you see all of those statuses within that. And then you can actually save the preferences to this board. So this IT transformation investment view is saved. And then you have the ability to share that with a set of users or groups within the solution. So they're looking at the exact same portfolio visualization that you're looking at. And so this is, like I say, new in the London release, and a super powerful screen to be able to visualize what's happening in the portfolio. The next tab I'll show you is the timeline tab. And this just really gives you the ability to visualize that portfolio or that investment view over the timeline and see things like major milestones that are scheduled to happen on those projects, as an example. And then you can see a little bit about the detail of those milestones that are coming through. And then there's a financials view that looks just like the one on the project, but it's across the portfolio. And so if I remove all of these, then pin this column to the left, which is the project or demand, we can see the financials for each of the projects at the highest level. But we can also, if we wanted to specifically group it by project, we can drag this project demand up here and see then what projects are costing, and then break down into the details of what's driving those costs. So similar capabilities here where you can configure and add incremental fields to this, as well as visualize this in a quarterly or an annual basis within this screen. So that's a quick run through of the investment portal. And as I mentioned, it's very configurable. Anything that you add to the project record, you can bring into the investment portal. And then the final thing I'm going to going to show here is the RP project portal that John showed within within his presentation. And this, like I say, for external folks, gives you the ability to get access to information about the project, so we can see the overall metrics of the project, and we can even chat with the project team here. So if I click chat and I say, you know, where's the new charter, that then is a part of chat that gets put into the project itself, and it's related with the project. You have the ability to upload project documents, to visualize the project status reports, look at things like the key milestones that have been completed on the projects, and then some other things to log issues, or look at information that's in the knowledge base, or submit ideas as an example. And this, you can just select the projects that you want to visualize one at a time, and then be able to interact with that portal for those projects. So the next place I'm going to go is I'm actually going to impersonate a user called Megan Burke, who is our portfolio manager persona within this demo environment. And I just want to do a quick run through of what it would look like to do sort of a what if analysis of a portfolio. So I'm going to jump into the portfolio workbench, and I'm going to choose my IT transformation portfolio. And so on a fiscal year planning basis, you basically have the ability to give that high level target, and then select the demands and projects against it, and create the budget and do things like that. But I want to show how you can look at the impact of selecting demands against the budget, demands and projects against the budget and the resources of this. So in this case, what we have is currently planning at 3.9 against a target of 3.5. And you can see our projects and demands over here that we've selected for purposes of, and this is actually a program, and so is this a program level, that certain projects are included. So right now we're over capacity from a budget perspective, but from a resource perspective, it looks like we're doing okay. We're under the capacity of FTEs. You can visualize this in hour and person days. But then if we go look at the utilization based on this current scenario, we can see that by those groups that we talked about in resource management, so core R&D, they're booked at 178% in FY18 Q2, and 115% on Java developers. And so as you change and remove stuff from the mix here real time, you can start to see the impact on that against your resources. And you can do this in the groups or the roles, and so specific roles where you have, you know, a DBA that's really getting booked in FY18 Q4. So it gives you the ability to do that high-level visualization of, you know, what the impact of portfolio planning is on your, not only your budget, but also your resources. I'm now going to switch to a resource manager role, and we'll go and cover the resource management piece of this. I want to leave time for questions, so I'm going to try to go pretty quickly here. So I'm logged in as Rosie Matthews, who is a resource manager within our, and I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes walking through the resource allocation workbench. And so the use case I'll go through is if I were a manager of the analyst group, a resource manager of the analyst group, I would come in here and I can see for my analyst group all of the projects and demands that have requests out for my group. And so we can see here that the self-service customer portal has 280 hours requested, and you can see the time frame. It's in September and October of 2018. And so what this does below is matches the time frame and shows our groups, our group of analysts and the members that are in those groups, and then it gives you a heat map view of their availability and capacity in those months. And so you can see that Adela could not do this because she has 0 availability. But in the case of Alejandra, he does have availability. So you can actually go ahead and commit those analysts to that plan. And so that's fundamentally how you would do that, is confirm or allocate a particular user to that plan. And so you can confirm that Tom's going to do this work. And what that will do is add Tom as the particular analyst within that group, and then do the confirmation or allocation up to his capacity. And so at that point, that's confirmed, and then you can actually go in and do a hard allocation to allocate that resource. And so from a resource manager perspective, it's really based on groups, or if you have resources that report to people, you can create visualizations like that, and then use the allocation workbench to understand where the information is being used. And then I just put a couple of quick portlets on this landing page for Rosie Matthews, and I wanted to show an example of where you might be able to. I just built this quick resource manager dashboard. No, that's the wrong one. Let me find it real quick here. Yeah, this is the one. So one of the portlets I built just before the walkthrough here is the ability to look at all of your projects and your resource allocations for going forward for the next few months. You can get a visualization, and this is just a pivot table report that I included on a dashboard to be able to see, this project's consuming this many hours, and these are the resources that are allocated to the project in the time frame. And so then you can do this by hours, or by you can visualize it by project or by resource. And then the final thing I'm going to show is I'm going to log in as Troy McCoy, who would be a team member persona, and show how Troy would log his time against some of these entities we've been working with, the projects and project tasks and other things. So as we log in here, there's a timesheet portal. And so what happens is, if you're assigned via resource plan or via in the work plan to a task, or if you're assigned to a change in ServiceNow or an incident, all of those will show up when you go to log your timesheet here on the left-hand side. And so in this case, Troy's assigned to a project task, U18. If you worked on that, he can simply add that to his timesheet, and say he worked on this project HCM implementation, he adds that. And then you have the ability to categorize these for purposes of capitalization. So say he was in the development phase, that would then drive capitalization as an example. And then you can simply input the number of hours you spent working on that. And so if we do 4 hours here and 4 hours here, so that basically gives you an overview of, 32 hours on projects. Let's make sure we worked on Thursday as well for 8 hours or 10 hours as an example, and then you can just go ahead and submit that timesheet. And the final thing I want to show before I turn it back over to John and for questions is, once again, go back to these visual task boards and just show the capabilities of this. So this is all of Troy's work across project tasks, and if you had change requests, so you can get that visualization of all the work that you have to do. And in this case, we're just doing a flexible board where we have a to-do list and doing and done. And so you can basically take these tasks and say you're working on this and working on this and working on this, and then finally you move it to done. So it just gives you a quick way to manage those tasks using visual task boards and manage your work.
Well, thanks so much, Russ. That was a really great overview of those capabilities. You covered a lot in the demo there, so I really appreciate that, and I think that should give everyone a really good insight into the capabilities and value that you can receive out of using the ServiceNow solution. A couple things that we wanted to highlight in terms of how organizations are looking at utilizing these capabilities. We see many organizations that are trying to understand, where do I start, where am I today, and so we have our health check assessments and roadmaps. So those can be very quick, 1 week to 3 week little engagements where we can assess where you are today, provide you with best practices, as well as then provide you with quick wins and an implementation roadmap. And so that can be across the PPM solution, but it can also be across other capabilities on the ServiceNow platform, such as ITSM. So just wanted to kind of let you know that we can provide that type of service if you're trying to understand where you are today, how you rank in terms of using best practices, as well as identifying your associated roadmap. We also include various rapid start implementation packages. So many organizations are looking at, is this going to be a huge effort to implement? And so we've got our bronze level implementation that can be done within 4 weeks. That's using a lot of the out-of-the-box capabilities with slight configuration. And so these rapid start packages focus on different modules, such as, say, demand management or project and resource management. And then it includes various configuration updates, some role-based dashboards, as well as train-the-trainer sessions. So a full implementation package, but obviously tailored down to meet your budget, as well as to meet your accelerated time-to-market timeline. In terms of where organizations typically start on their journey, so from our typical webinars, we see organizations starting at different points. They might be ready to actually look at a rapid start implementation and might just jump right over here to a discussion around a rapid start, look at our different offerings, and then we can come in and implement, and they can start using the solution, say, in 4 to 6 or 8 weeks. Some organizations aren't quite sure, so we can actually schedule a follow-on one-on-one session that could include a detailed deep dive in terms of a demo. That could also then give us a little bit more discovery of where you're at today. And then we might move into a health check, do a quick 1 week health check, and then from there provide guidance on a roadmap and recommendations. That could then be followed by various rapid start implementations or a custom implementation. And then some customers just go directly to support. They have it up and running today, but they're needing additional capacity to support their ongoing demands from different business units looking to come on board, or just looking for additional solutions to roll out. And so that's a typical journey. And then alongside that, some organizations are just looking for advisement and guidance. And so we do have various advisory services as well. So in terms of what's coming next, we have our upcoming webinar on Agile Development, Hybrid Project Management, kind of a deep dive that'll be coming up in March. And then we are also providing an overview of the application portfolio management solution in April. So we are doing monthly webinars. So we'll be scheduling the one in May coming up shortly. So thanks again for your attendance today, and definitely look forward to inviting you and attending some of our upcoming webinars.